I sold minutes of people's lives for 43 years. Not metaphorically. Not as some kind of spiritual consultant or life coach. I mean, I literally took their time. Actual minutes, hours, years, and I sold them to others. And before you click away thinking this is some fantasy nonsense, let me tell you something. By the end of this confession, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Because 3 months ago, my own time ran out. Not my lifespan, my time. And I'm sitting here now, 78 years old, with all the hours in the world, and absolutely nothing left to do with them. My name is Harold Vesson, and this is how I became the man who destroyed everything by trying to save everyone. It started in 1981. I was 34, working as an efficiency consultant for corporate offices in Chicago. My whole job was to study how people spent their time at work, literally walking around with a stopwatch and clipboard, timing bathroom breaks, lunch hours, meeting lengths. I became obsessed with it. Time, how people wasted it, how they craved more of it, how they'd do anything to get it back. One night, I couldn't sleep. My wife, Margaret, was 8 months pregnant with our daughter. I lay there watching her breathe, thinking about all the time she'd spent waiting for this baby, all the time I'd spent working instead of being with her. And this thought hit me like a hammer. What if you could actually buy someone else's time? Not hire them, not pay them to work. I mean, what if you could purchase the actual experience of time, the feeling of having more hours in your day? I know how it sounds. But hear me out. The next morning, I started what I called my time bank. It wasn't a bank. It was just me, a notebook, and an idea that made sense only to someone who'd spent 10 years obsessing over every wasted second in corporate America. Here's how it worked. I would find people who felt they had too much time. The unemployed, the lonely, the elderly, the depressed. People who said things like, "I don't know what to do with myself," or "the days just drag on forever." And I would offer to take that time off their hands. Not kill them, not hurt them. I would simply remove the burden of those empty hours. Then I'd turn around and sell that time to people who were desperate for more. Executives, new parents, students, workaholics, people who said, "There aren't enough hours in the day," or "I'd give anything for just one more hour." You're thinking, how? How did I actually do that? I'll tell you, but it's going to make you uncomfortable. I used something I called temporal reassignment therapy. I'd sit with the seller, the person giving up their time, and I'd guide them through a process. Deep hypnosis, psychological reconditioning, sensory deprivation exercises. I'd convince them truly and completely that entire chunks of their day never existed. That the hours between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., for example, just dissolved. They wouldn't remember them. They wouldn't feel them. They'd go to sleep at noon and wake up at 6 p.m., and to them, only minutes had passed. Then I'd take the buyer, the person purchasing time, and I'd do the opposite. I'd stretch their perception, make their hours feel longer, richer, fuller, through carefully designed routines, cognitive training, stimulants, scheduling mastery. I'd make 1 hour feel like 3. It wasn't magic. It was psychology. Brutal, precise, manipulative psychology. And people paid for it. God, did they pay. My first client was a woman named Diane. She was 67, a widow, living alone in a studio apartment. She told me she watched TV from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day because she had nothing else to do. "I'm just waiting to die," she said. "What's the point of all these hours?" I offered her $3,000 to let me take away 5 hours of her day, Monday through Friday. She cried. She said yes. I worked with her for 2 weeks, hypnosis sessions, sleep conditioning, routine restructuring. By the end, she'd go to bed at noon and wake up at 5 p.m., and she swore only 20 minutes had passed. She'd smile and say, "I feel lighter." Then I sold those 25 hours a week to a surgeon named Dr. Paul Hendricks. He was drowning in work, desperate for more time with his kids. I didn't give him Diane's literal hours. I gave him the experience of having more. I taught him time expansion techniques, hyper-efficiency methods, perceptual training. Within a month, he told me his evenings felt 3 times longer. He could have dinner with his family, read to his kids, and still have time to himself. He paid me $15,000. Diane got $3,000. I kept $12,000. And I told myself I was helping both of them. If you like stories like this, then like and subscribe. Within 5 years, I had over 200 clients. I was making $500,000 a year. I had a private office, a waiting list. I was written about in underground magazines as the Time Doctor and the Hour Merchant. People came to me in secret, celebrities, politicians, executives. Everyone wanted the same thing: more time, less waiting. I had sellers who gave me entire weekends, depressed college dropouts who didn't care if Saturday and Sunday vanished. I had buyers who paid $50,000 for the feeling of extra months. Margaret didn't know the details at first. She thought I was running some kind of executive coaching business, but she knew something was off. She'd see the exhaustion in my eyes, the way I flinched when our daughter Emma asked me to play, the way I scheduled every second of my life like I was terrified of stillness. One night, Emma was 9 years old, and she asked me to read her a bedtime story. I told her I didn't have time. She looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Daddy, do you even like spending time with me?" I opened my mouth to say yes, but nothing came out. That's when I knew. I wasn't saving time. I was erasing it.
But I didn't stop. I couldn't, because by then I'd started believing my own lies. I told myself I was a hero, that I was giving the lonely relief and the desperate hope. The time was subjective anyway, so what did it matter if I redistributed it? The truth is, I was terrified of my own time, terrified of slowing down, terrified of sitting with my daughter and realizing I'd missed her entire childhood. So I worked more. I took on more sellers, more buyers. I refined my methods, better hypnosis scripts, deeper conditioning, faster turnarounds. I became efficient. I stopped seeing my clients as people. I saw them as inventory, units of time, resources to harvest and resell. And then I met Thomas. Thomas Gilroy was 82 years old, lung cancer, stage 4. He had maybe 4 months left, but he was sharp, clear-headed, and he came to me with an offer I'd never heard before. He said, "I want to sell you all of it, every remaining hour I have. I don't want to feel myself dying. I want to go to sleep tonight and not wake up until it's over." I stared at him. "You want me to erase your final months?" "Yes." "That's not what I do." "It's exactly what you do. You've been doing it for 20 years. You just never had someone honest enough to name it." He was right, and I hated him for it. But he offered me $200,000, cash, and I said yes.
I worked with Thomas for 3 weeks. Deep conditioning. I put him under so many times I lost count. I restructured his sleep cycles, his circadian rhythm, his entire perception of duration. I made him believe that each night was a year long. that when he closed his eyes, entire seasons would pass. He'd wake up for 5 minutes, eat, take his pills, then go back under. Over and over. To him, months were passing. To the world, it was only days. And then one morning, he didn't wake up. I called the hospital. They said he'd passed in his sleep, peacefully. No pain. I told myself that's what he wanted, that I gave him mercy. But I knew the truth. I'd erased him. I'd taken the dying man's final chance to make peace, to say goodbye, to feel his own ending, and I'd stolen it for profit. I kept the $200,000, and I never told anyone. That's when things started to fall apart. Margaret found my client files. She saw the payments, the notes, the recordings. She listened to a session where I was coaching a woman to forget entire weeks of her life. She played it back to me in our kitchen, her hands shaking. "You're erasing people, Harold. I'm helping them. You're playing God with their lives. They choose this. They pay me for this." She looked at me like I was a stranger. "What happened to you?" I didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know anymore. I didn't know when I'd stopped being a man trying to help people and started being a machine that devoured time. Margaret left, took Emma, filed for divorce. I moved into my office. I kept working. I told myself I'd fix things later, when I had more time. But I didn't have more time. None of us do. Emma grew up. I missed her graduation because I was in a session, missed her wedding because I was closing a deal. I sent money, I sent cards, I told myself I'd visit soon. I never did. She stopped calling. Margaret remarried, sent me a photo of her and her new husband on a beach. She looked happy, relaxed, like she'd finally found someone who knew how to be present. And me? I kept working, kept selling, kept taking hours from people who didn't want them and giving them to people who'd never have enough. I was 75 years old when I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd sat still, the last time I'd watched a sunset without checking my watch, the last time I'd felt anything. I had all the time in the world, and I'd wasted every second of it. 3 months ago, I tried to stop. I shut down the business, refunded deposits. I told my remaining clients I was done. But the damage was already done. Not to them, to me. Because here's the thing about spending your whole life manipulating time. Eventually, you forget how to experience it. I sit here now, 78 years old, retired, with nothing but empty hours ahead of me. And I don't know what to do with them. I wake up and it's morning. I blink and it's night. Days blur together. I can't tell you what I did yesterday, or last week, or last year. I sold so much time, stretched it, compressed it, erased it, repackaged it, that I lost my own sense of now. My time didn't run out because I'm dying. It ran out because I stopped living. I tried to call Emma last month. She didn't pick up. I left a message. I said, "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I thought I'd have more time." She texted back, "You had all the time in the world, Dad. You just spent it on everyone else." She's right. I had 78 years, and I can't remember a single moment I was truly in. So yeah, I sold time for a living. I made millions. I convinced myself I was a genius, a savior, a pioneer. But the truth is, I was just a coward. A man so afraid of his own life that he spent decades helping other people escape theirs. And now I'm here, sitting in an empty apartment with all the time in the world. and nothing left to do with it. Be honest, if you were in my place, would you still trust time after that? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you'd do. And if this story hit you even a little, don't just scroll, hit that like button and subscribe, because every story here isn't just a story, it's a reflection of someone's truth, maybe even yours.